Do you know you're on?
All right. Ready to go?
Joe Ozen?
That's me.
I am.
That's me.
Yeah.
Right. We will then call the town board meeting to order at the Lisbon Town Hall on Monday, May 24th, 2021 at 6:34 PM. Thank you. Do a second roll call.
Supervisor Brown?
Here.
Supervisor Beal?
Here.
Supervisor Moonen?
Here.
Chairman Osterman?
Here.
Supervisor Plotecker? Here. Chairman, excuse me, Administrator Nicholas? Here. And Clerk Capazza to record the minutes.
All right. We also have our future attorney, John Macy, present in the audience.
And then Planner Rachel Holloway is on Zoom.
All right. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Item 3 is comments from citizens present. Does anyone have anything they'd like to address tonight?
Here we go again. We're at that,
Bill, can you state your name and address?
William Swift, North 56, West 26184, Richmond Road.
Thank you.
We've been over this stupid fence and, it looks like hell and you people don't do nothing about it. I understand we're parked or we're right next door to a field, but what do we as residents have a right to help our property look like a decent property? I'd like an answer for that. And one other thing, Doug, I didn't know that you were on the board. I thought that there was only 5 people,
There are.
you
There
and
is.
4.
Right.
Right.
There is.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
No.
Doug's on the board.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Becky, Doug, Linda, Mark, and myself.
Okay. I didn't even know that he was on the board.
Could I have your address, sir, again?
North 56, West 26184, Richmond Road.
So we can't respond right now during this as a board because it's not something that's agendized, Bill. I can talk to you after the meeting if you want. If you want to hang around, or I can call you tomorrow. Kathy informed me a little bit about what's going on. I mean, we've talked in the past about it too. But
Exactly. The thing is, how do you expect to sit there and have citizens work for this board and try to be upfront? Then the board doesn't do a thing about it. Anybody with any common sense, go and look at that stupid fence. And we've got little children next door. What are you going to do if something happens to one of them? This is really ridiculous. I've been over this and we've been through this. How many times? Too many. We get nothing done. That's about all I got to say.
Thank you.
would anyone else like to speak?
Hello, my name is Rebecca Habercorn, W225N8958 Jolyn Drive. I was just coming to do follow-up from the meeting a month ago and let you know that The larger brush pile between our Tanner and Lichty's property that was touching ours has been removed, but the stuff that caused us to bring that to your attention, which is along our actual property line, still remains there. So we're looking for resolution on that. And the majority of the junk pile had been moved, but we still saw fencing and chicken wire. So not sure that, but just wanted to update you. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak? Anyone on Zoom?
Anyone on Zoom, if you'd like to speak for citizen comment, raise your hand. No hands raised on Zoom.
Thank you. All right, item 4 is the consent agenda. Items listed under the consent agenda are considered in one motion unless a town board member requests that an item be removed from the consent agenda. We've got the May 10th, 2021 town board minutes. We have payment request number 2 for street extension on TID number 1, payable to Wonder Construction for the amount of $280,968.20.
I'll authorize a motion for the payment of the bills in the amount of $427,000.
Oh, we're on 4.
We're on 4.
I'll wait till we get to that one. And I'll authorize a motion for the consent agenda on item number 4.
All right, is there a second? Second by Becky. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 4 is accounts payable, authorizing the payment of the bills in the amount of $427,045. Kathy?
All right, our largest payments were advanced disposal of $68,052.22. Waukesha County Treasurer for police services of $62,622.79. And then the Wondra Construction, which you just approved at $280,968.20.
Questions or comments, or is there a motion on the check?
How many more payments are there, Kathy? It says payment number 2,
I think we have one more.
about of the same amount?
I don't know that off the cuff.
That's okay. Thank you.
I feel like I can make the motion on number 5. I'll authorize the payment of the bills in the amount of $427,045.00.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Doug. Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 6 is announcements and correspondence. I have a meeting list here. We have the Plan Commission meeting on Thursday, the 10th at 6:30 PM at the Richard Young Fire Station. Then our next town board meeting will be on the 14th at 6:30 at the Town Hall. The Sanitary District Number 1 meeting will be Wednesday, the 16th at 6:30 at the Town Hall. And the Parks Committee meeting will be Monday, the 21st at 6:30 at the Richard Young Fire Station. Does anyone else have any other announcements or correspondence to note? All right, item 7 is administrator report.
Right. We had 2 speed studies, one on Plainview, found that 6% of the drivers would have been received an enforceable violation. The road is posted at 45 miles an hour. Drivers were clocked at speeds of 7 to 84 miles an hour. This is considered a low enforcement rating as it's only 6%. No extra enforcement was added. Lake 5 study found to be 18% of the drivers would have had an enforceable violation. The road is posted at 35 miles an hour. Drivers were clocked at speeds of 6 miles an hour to 76 miles an hour. Extra enforcement has been added when time permits. We had our first team meeting, luncheon, with all the departments here last week, Thursday. We grilled out, went through our questions concerning the employee handbook and employee benefits manual. We have rented out the entire community park and all the pavilions to Bonafide Security on August 21st. They are celebrating their 50th anniversary with a pig roast, and fireworks and activities. Parks and Public Works went and walked the grounds to find out if it's possible. They're expecting between 400 and 500 people in and out throughout the day. They're working on parking elsewhere by using a shuttle. Fire department and fire marshal have also been contacted by Bonafide and just was going to lay out where the fireworks could actually happen. We did check with We Energies to make sure that there was no problem with the fireworks near the lines. We're going to make note that the fireworks will be shot off at in our next newsletter, and that the park would be closed on that specific day for a private party. In addition, I'd like to send a letter to all the homeowners that abut the park, just to let them know there's going to be fireworks in their backyards, so they can either plan to enjoy them or at least not be surprised by them. We're working on a new zoning category for agri-tainment or agri-tourism zoning. It's intended to provide locations to have various activities, buildings, displays to simulate, educate, and celebrate farming, homesteading, farm marketing, farm tourism, all in conjunction with operation of an active farm. We're at the next Plan Commission meeting. We're going to touch on the idea to see what the Plan Commission thinks about it, and then we'll bring it forward if they so choose to move, and we'll bring the actual document forward. The roundabout at County Highway Q and Hillside, last week letters went out to all the residents in the area to let them know that they're going to see activity as field work is being done. They are going to be setting up an informational meeting for the public to get involved, and that their tentative schedule date for this project is 2023. In April, the department highlights: the clerk prepared and ran the election, worked on zoning code amendments and the code amendments, coordinated renewal mailings for the quarries, liquor license, operator's license, prep for board of review, and town board and plan commission meetings. DPW took care of the sod damage and mailbox repairs. Seems like a long time ago, April, doesn't it? Worked on compost site and replaced culverts, as well as cutting down trees on Lake 5. 3 weeks of brush pickup have been done, and they started to maintain the baseball and soccer fields. I attended the Lake Country Court meeting last week, where the new administrator was chosen, and they decided to move the collections to the state collections department, as the court has over $300,000 in outstanding fines, unpaid fines. And then lastly, our ad for a new park labor driver, our full-time position, has been placed on Facebook, our website, and sent to Indeed. That's my report.
All right, any questions?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Since Bonafide is going to be using the park, and because they're having fireworks and so many people, are they required to have an insurance on that in
Yes.
case there's a fire? They will be.
Yes.
Okay.
Before they get their permit, they have to have a insurance policy, and then our attorney will review it to make sure that the town is covered.
Does that include anybody who rents anything, or just because they're having the fireworks?
That's for the fireworks specific.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you.
All right, anyone else have any questions?
What are they going to do with this $300,000 of outstanding uncollected debts? Can't they put that on taxes or something?
Well, now that they're going through the state collections, they'll be able to start garnishing, taking their income tax,
Okay,
and so we may see some of that coming back to us. They don't owe $300,000 for us. It's
Oh,
the
no.
whole court system.
Correct.
I think Oconomowoc has the most with 100 and some thousand.
okay, thank you.
All right, anyone have any other questions? Thank you, Kathy. Item 8 is supervisor reports. Does anyone have anything to report?
The sanitary met last week, and besides just normal bill paying, what we decided to do was people want to charge their 3-month fee every 3 months. We bill the homeowners for sewer. Well, they can now put it on their charge with a small fee that they're going to be putting on, because checks for some people, they don't have them anymore. So we're trying to ride with what's going on in today's world.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything to report? All right, item 9 is plan commission recommendations. A, discussion necessary action on the following request by Mike Carrick, Right Way Bus and Bark River Preserve on North 95 West 23759 County Line Road, tax key LSBT 0150.997, and recommendations that were made to the town board in Waukesha County the same. We have ordinance 2021-14, which was to reapprove amendments to Lisbon's comprehensive land use map from rural density and other agricultural lands to suburban 1 density, 1 residential, and maintaining the other open lands to be preserved areas based on Waukesha County's comments. So that is the first one we have that was recommended unanimously by the Plan Commission. I think Rachel Holloway is here to answer any questions if anyone would have any.
Mm-mm.
No questions for Rachel?
Mm-mm.
Is there a motion on ordinance 2021-14?
I'll make a
Oh.
motion that we reapprove ordinance 2021-14.
Is there a second?
I second.
Take my Linda. Kathy?
I just wanted to say that we want to approve these subject to the attorney reviewing them.
Yes,
Is the motion okay with that?
yes.
And second?
Mhm.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Then item ordinance 2021-15 to reapprove rezoning from Town A10 agricultural 10-acre district to Town R2 residential district and maintaining the C1 conservancy overlay areas based on Waukesha County comments. Any questions on this one? Is there a motion on ordinance 2021-15? We'd also ask that this be approved, subject to attorney review.
I still make the motion
With attorney review,
with the attorney's review.
moved by Linda Beal. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Becky. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. In ordinance 2021-17 to approve rezoning from County A1 agricultural, HG high groundwater, and C1 conservancy overlay districts to County R2 residential, HG high groundwater, and C1 conservancy overlay districts. Any questions on this one? It was also approved by the Plan Commission unanimously.
I make a motion, we so reapprove with subject to the attorney's review.
Moved by Linda Beal. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mark. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, and item B, discussion necessary action on the request by Mike Carrick, KKNN Lindale LLC for Pheasant View Meadows on North 48 West 27368 Lindale Road, tax key LSBT 0268.999. This was in recommendation of the town board regarding ordinance 2021-16 to reapprove amendment to Lisbon's comprehensive land use plan map from rural density and other agricultural lands to suburban 1 residential and maintaining the other open lands to be preserved areas based on Waukesha County comments. Is any questions on ordinance 2021-16? All right, is there a motion on 2021-16? And also we would ask that it be subject to attorney review.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2021-16, subject to attorney review.
Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Linda Beal. Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item C, discussion and necessary action on the request by Eric Obarski from Newman Developments, Inc. for the property located on Hillside Road, tax key LSBT 0205.995 for approval of the following related to the Hillside Ridge 2 development. We have the final plat and the developers agreement. We'll take those separately. Any questions on the final plat? Do you want this one attorney review also?
Yes. Not the plat, the developers agreement.
Developers agreement. So on the plat, we were just looking for motion to approve or deny, one way or the other.
I make a motion, we approve
Moved by Linda
as
Beal.
written based on the attorney's approval.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Doug. So this one, we weren't necessarily going to send this one, the first one to the approval. Are you okay with just approving it or do you want to
Yes.
go on an attorney?
No,
Is
that's
the
fine.
second okay with that?
You okay
Doug?
with that, Doug?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
I'm okay with that.
So this one would not be according to attorney review.
Okay.
since this one already was by our previous attorney. All right, any discussion?
Mm-mm.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Now we have the developers agreement, which if it were a motion to approve would be subject to attorney review. Any questions on the developers agreement? Is there a motion on the developers agreement?
I make a motion, we approve ordinance, the development agreement per the minute, the agenda here.
Subject
Based
to-
on, subject to the attorney's approval.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Doug. Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And D, discussion necessary action regarding proposed ordinance 2021-12 related to repealing and recreating Chapter 12 of the Town of Lisbon Code of Ordinances regarding subdivisions. Does anyone have any questions on ordinance 2021-12? This also was approved by the Planning Commission unanimous. No questions? Is there a motion on this?
I'll make a motion, we approve ordinance 2021-12 related to repealing and recreating chapter 12.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mark. Do we need a review on this one also?
Yes.
Is the motion okay with?
Yes.
Okay, is the second?
Yes.
All right. Any final discussion?
Mm-mm.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Excellent. Item 10 is unfinished business. Discussion necessary action regarding request by Diane Lichty to contest a 14-day non-compliance order to remove items stored in violation of town code, subsections 502, parent A, parent 1, and parent 2, and subsections 502, parent B, parent 3, parent 10 on the property located at West 225 North 8934 Jolene Drive, text key LSBT 0147.994.001. This item was tabled on 4/26 at the 4/26 meeting. Kathy?
So Brian and I took a walk through the Lichty's property and took a look at the work that they did. And if you remember from the last board meeting, you asked them to clean up their pile of junk. They did that. They do have a couple fences there, but there is no code that says you can't have fences on your property. We took a look at the property line, the area that I had pointed out to the Lichty's to get the wood branches taken care of was removed. There is a small pile of brush that's not higher than my calf that is about 4 feet wide, right next to Havercorn's wood pile. Both Brian and I felt that the Lichty's took care of their noncompliance on their complaint that was discussed at the April meeting.
Comments from the board?
Yeah, I was just a little concerned. They took it off of, is it Tanner's that they took it off? And the Habercorns just said that they left it on their side.
No, so
There's some there, can't they
there's
move
a-
all of that?
There's a very small area of twigs, a couple logs there, that's it. It's not more than 4 feet wide. Like I said, it doesn't even go past my calf. And, because I was out there with Brian today and we did not find it to be a problem. And they did put up a fence to keep their dogs out of the Havercorns property as well. And we thought they did a nice job of cleaning that up in such a short period of time. If you remember, we just asked them to clean up the junk pile that we were going to come back and ask them what their plan was to remove brush. And I think they did a nice job. They actually jumped on it quickly with the help of a neighbor and got it taken care of.
So what is there, when you saw it today, Kathy, what is there left, a fence? You said a fence in this section?
So on their property, they have some fencing that they plan on using elsewhere on their property. both like a cyclone fence and then some chicken wire fencing, but that's all that's left of that pile. And Brian and I, when we walked, we didn't find that that was a problem to be on the property. That's not considered junk. It's usable materials that the Lidkeys are planning on using. So we did not see a problem with it. Everything else in the letter that was sent to you is going to be on a second complaint. And we'll go through that. Brian and I took a walk through that. And we'll go through line by line on all of those things as well.
When are you going to do that?
Well, we took the walk today, so this week we will, Brian and I will sit and go through each piece of the complaint.
I guess from my point of view, I'd rather hold off and I'm embarrassed to say I didn't walk it again. I would like to see it before I would vote for it, but of course you guys can vote for what you want.
Okay. Doug?
Well, it sounds to me like what they did what we expected of them, and it's done. And people can have items on their property. There's no ordinance against that. So.
Yeah, I appreciate staff going out there again. Obviously, Brian was out there the first time with me, so he has some comparative knowledge of what was and is not now. So I'll trust that staff provided the appropriate recommendation.
Becky?
So wasn't there chain link fencing that was thrown on her?
Well, there was, yes, they have some chain, I called it cyclone, but yes, chain link fencing. They have, I think, like 3 sections of chain link fence that they want to use, but it's on their property. It's not close to the property line. It's just on their property. And there's nothing in our code that says that you can't have fence on your property.
It's usable
That's usable
fence. It's not bent up and destroyed.
Right.
It's,
You could make a dog cage out of
It's a
it.
dog kennel.
Okay,
Sure.
I was just gonna say, I think you could use it for a dog cage
And the
if you wanted
chicken
to.
wire fence that you're
Sure,
talking
we
about,
gotta keep it-
put that around certain plants to keep the rabbits from eating them up during the winter time.
So I did, we did walk it. We were very, very clear on what the first complaint was when we walked it.
so as the code was, we had 502 parent A1 and 2, and A1 was a public nuisance thing, occupation, condition, or use of property, which shall continue for such length of time as to substantially annoy, injure, or endanger the comfort, health, repose, or safety of the public. So those are the first 2 under 502A. And B, number 3, accumulations of decayed animal and vegetable matter, trash, paper boxes, rubbish, rotting lumber, bedding, packing material, scrap metal. And 10, which was any use of the property, substances, or things within the town emitting or causing any foul, offensive, noisome, nauseous, noxious, or disagreeable odors, effluent, or stenches, extremely repulsive or physical senses of ordinary persons which annoy, discomfort, injure, or inconvenience the health of any appreciable number of persons within the town.
And so when we walked the yard, we walked the whole lot line a couple times and we did not smell anything. So we're comfortable with saying that they are now in compliance and send them a letter stating that they're in compliance from their first letter, or their first complaint.
Sure.
And then we'll bring up the second complaint and go through it.
Okay.
And, I would think that you would probably not be involved. The normal process is that the board is not involved in these. The reason it came to the board was because the Lichties came to appeal the letter. So I would think that this time around, but they did comply. So this time around, we'll take a look at the complaint. We'll give them a letter if it needs to be, and then I'm sure they will comply just as they have in the past.
All right, so on this first complaint, which is the one we're dealing with, does anyone else have any questions on it? Does everyone feel they've received the proper amount of information at this time?
I do.
Doug,
I do.
Linda? Becky? Becky? Okay. Is there a motion on item 10A?
Don't,
Or you don't need
I don't
one?
think, no, it's mostly just to alert you to the fact that we're going to be sending them a letter of compliance. And because it came to you, we brought it back to you just so then you were aware. At the last board meeting, you asked it to be brought back this meeting. Otherwise, normally something comes up like this, we would just send them a letter of compliance. You wouldn't be involved.
But this was appealed to the board, correct?
Right, and that's why we brought it to you and then,
But don't we have to rule on it then? Being it was appealed to us?
sure,
I don't know. I want to make sure we do this right.
yeah, we can.
I want to
motion's
dot all
not gonna
i's and
hurt you.
cross, I want to dot all i's and cross all
Yeah.
t's on
A
this
motion
one.
is not going to hurt.
I'll make a motion to find that the Diane Lichty property has come into compliance with the town code for the matters relating to subsections 5.02A1 and 2 and subsections 5.02 sub B sub 3 and 10 for the property located at W225 and 8934 Jolyn Drive, LSBT 0147.994.001.
Is there a
Second.
Second by Doug Brown. Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I will vote.
You
I'll
what?
say no.
You're voting nay? 4-1, it passes.
When we, Linda, after we're done, I took a bunch of pictures I can show you.
I think I'll walk out there too.
Yep.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Item B is discussion necessary action regarding a second draft revision of the employee handbook.
All right, so in front of you, you have the redlined employee handbook as well as the clean copy. We brought this to the board last meeting. We went through 16 different changes. You accepted those changes, but did want to bring it back, so you had a chance to review it some more. And I did not receive any comments from any of the board members to add to the changes, but we did make a few changes from the last meeting. I did reach out to Attorney Vliet with a couple of questions. Doug's question about the fire department members being considered at-will employees, and they are not. They fall under 62.13. And I made those adjustments in the red line copy. Compensation time earned, we had one section that said it was a 1-to-1 rate. Another section said it was 1 to 1.5 rate. I checked with Dan Vliet, or Attorney Vliet, and he said it has to be 1 1/2 rate. And because it takes the place of the overtime. And then I did, the other thing you asked me to do was to bring the handbook to the staff. I did that on the 20th when we had our grill out. I had a couple questions, but nothing that needed major changing at all, just some clarification. So I'm still trying to keep my timeline that next meeting, we'd bring the draft copy of the employee benefits manual, bring back the final version of the employee handbook if needed, if you didn't find it complete today. And then on the 28th, a draft of the LFD employee benefits manual will be the first draft of PTO. That one might take a little bit longer than this first one. So just to go through on page 5, the change since the last meeting was I added election workers to the unclassified. I clarified on page 5 that the fire department members are not at will. And also in E, a clarification on comp time. The other question that came up, any questions on that? On page 10 was our next, something that came up during our meeting was about nepotism. We talked about the fact that sometimes our our fire department might have multiple family members on the department. We made it clear that it couldn't be under direct, just added the word direct supervision or directly supervised. And then we also talked about the fact that if the employee is a relative of the administrator, the hire and discipline would be done by the chair to take me out of it, or take the chair of the administrator out of it. Then on page 11, we removed the overtime rate on weekends as was an oversight starts after 40. So we had it in that overtime starts after 40 on other pages, but on this page, when the staff went through it, they noticed that it was not consistent. Number 6 on page 12. We changed 180 hours to 6 months to be consistent throughout the manual. And then on page, and the reason we did that was because sometimes I do work overtime, more hours, and it's not six months. It ends up being, it's 5 months and two weeks. So we made it 6 months, so it's same for everyone. On page 14, we added a sentence for recovery of unreturned property. That area, we added a sentence that said the replacement value of any unreturned Lisbon property will be recovered by any or all remedies allowed by law. Any questions so far? Page 25. Is added line for clarification under the use of comp time. As I mentioned, I spoke with the attorney about this is the use of comp time. I'm sorry, this is the use of comp time. We missed a couple during the grammatical changes, and then it didn't say in December that the accumulation of comp time between first payroll in December, it just said first payroll and December 31st. So it made it sound like all year you couldn't do comp time. And then the second one said no less than 1/4 of an hour. Rounding will be done as requested during the last meeting as follows. Up to 7 minutes will be rounded down. At 8 minutes will be rounded up. So that was from the last meeting. 26, page 26, we have we moved the ability to deposit into more than one bank account. That was questioned during the meeting, and we fixed that. Page 28, duplication of theft of Town of Lisbon property was a grammatical error, and it was in 2 places in the same list. So that was removed. We removed a liaison. There were like 2 places in the book that spoke about the liaison. It was during the grievance and harassment area, and it replaces it with the administrator chair as suitable. On page 56, clarification that only Lisbon staff passwords are to be known by the clerk, not board members. And then on page 64, credit card charges are distributed to the board, not to the chair only. That's what our current practice is, and we want to keep it as such. So those are the changes I had in the handbook. Any questions?
As far as passwords go in that security section, are we asking our employees off to submit, or is this
We
just
have not.
for security purposes? Shouldn't
Yeah.
they need it?
And actually, we have the ability to go to one click right
Right.
now, and they can reset it to something else, and that would lock them out.
Right.
And would allow us to get in if need be. But at the beginning, that without one click, that's the only place we had if somebody locked themselves out, was the clerk to be able to log in and get them to change their password. Any other questions on the handbook? If so, if not, I ask for approval.
Doug?
No, I think the changes that were made were done appropriately.
Just a quick question, because we talked before about giving raises on merit rather than straight across the 2%.
Mhm.
Is that in here? I missed it. No,
And we're not speaking about that at all in here.
that's I wanted to know.
That's.
I didn't know
that's
if
a
I was
different-
missing it.
Different area.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Mhm.
No questions.
Mark?
Although I do have to say that the staff has been notified of that earlier in the beginning of the year, that it was going to be evals by merit pay, by merit raises, if any.
I know that we had talked at length about 3.07, the nepotism section last time.
Mhm.
I guess, can we just get a refresh on how just the word directly solves the problems that everybody raised last time?
Well, I think the issue that we had was with fire specifically, if you had someone that was supervised by a person, but it wasn't a direct supervision, there was a person in between, that person would have the ability to take care of any concerns with their staff. So let's say it was a park department person, then that person would go to the division supervisor, Parks Division supervisor with any concerns. And they would not be reporting directly to the DPW director. They'd be reporting directly to the supervisor. So they wouldn't be a direct.
I think the change was because the original paragraph said that nobody could supervise in a department with their relatives working there. It said that the town can hire relatives as long as they're on the same, like, rank and file or staff. But as soon as somebody comes in a position of supervision, the relative can't work there.
Right, so
So that's how it was written.
Mhm.
So it needed to be changed to something that would just indicate that they're not going to report directly to a supervisor. Probably maybe could go a little further as far as discipline and.
And that was my next question is, I think the last meeting we had talked about, what do we do in the case of a director having to discipline, say, two levels down? Yes, they're not there direct, but essentially if the fire chief had 2 levels, 3 levels down in the department, ultimately the fire chief has to issue the discipline through the PFC. I don't know that that would solve what we were going for in that last meeting.
Okay.
Or could it go over
And
to the administrator in that case, if
Well, and that's, I know maybe in the DPW it could, but can that happen in the fire department though? I don't think discipline can go outside
why
of it.
not?
I think it has to go to the, discipline goes to the fire commission.
I was gonna say,
It-
yeah,
Well, but the fire chief usually writes it up and submits it to the Fire and Police Commission and they review it if the person getting disciplined objects to it or appeals it, right?
So if it was your relative, your son. who
Like
worked
when I was
in-
the
when you were
chief
the
and my
chief.
sons were on there, I always handed that completely to the assistant chief at that time, Dave Mason, who would take care of anything that needed to be done with any bronze.
Mhm.
And then if they wanted to appeal, they would go to the Fire and Police Commission. I kept myself out of it.
Right, but so then I guess that's a Lisbon Fire Department manual handled thing, but how does that get handled, say if it's the DPW?
So if it's, if DPW, if Joe had somebody working for him directly,
Mhm.
well, he can't be direct supervising that person. It would have to go through his either his parks supervisor or his division supervisor or his highway supervisor. Wouldn't come to him. So that person would work underneath one of those two people. And they would report directly to that supervisor and not to Joe. You think it needs to be tightened up a little more?
No, I think the fire department is its own.
It could be tightened up a little more because this is saying maybe it should be about discipline or, because obviously, if the fire chief says something and there's relatives there, they're like on a fire, do this or do that, they're gonna report directly to them in functions, in operations.
Mhm.
So maybe it should be more defined with when it comes to discipline or employee evaluations.
But it says no employee from the same immediate family shall hold jobs that involve direct supervision or be directly supervised by another member of the immediate family. So doesn't that take care of that?
No, because if they all end up on a fire scene, they're gonna be directly supervised
Yeah,
by
they-
the chief.
The fire, I think, is separate, I think. They can handle their,
Well, they,
like Michelle would give it to someone else to discipline.
Jeff, her husband,
It says-
yeah.
Yeah, and it says no employees can be hired, so, I mean, not talking about the fire department, because that's a different situation, but it says that no employees from the same immediate family.
Shall hold jobs that involve direct
will
supervision.
not with direct supervision.
Yeah, and I guess I would go to, is the spirit of this section encompassing hiring, or is this operational supervision, administrative supervision? Is it intended to be both, or is the nepotism just,
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
is it, I mean, if you read the first sentence, it encompasses hiring. But then as you read further, then it goes into more of the operational or administrative supervision of an employee.
And the intent was that it would be hiring and discipline. If you look at the very last line, that's why that was put in there from the meeting. If the employee is a relative of the administrator, the hire and discipline is done by the chair to take it away. So are you suggesting that for public works, that it would go, if there's a conflict, that it would go to the administrator?
Yeah, I mean, I guess from what Doug was saying, that's kind of how it had been handled is, or, I don't know, do they bring in outside fire chiefs to determine that?
What's the last thing you said?
Do they bring in outside fire chiefs to handle that? No?
It's never happened.
Yeah.
No, I mean, when things have, between family issues in the past, the assistant chief handled it. And if it was his son, I handled it. You know, and we just stayed out of it. I mean, but there's enough layers there, I suppose, for that to work.
Normally.
Yeah, and then I guess if you get into a small department, there may not be layers.
Well, right now we have an issue. There is no in between right now, correct?
Where?
In this interim period, there is no one in between, right?
Right. So we literally have this problem right now. It's a temporary problem, which will be rectified once we move people in the correct positions, but at this immediate time, we do have a problem. There's not a problem there, but potential.
Right.
So I don't know how to word this.
Do you want me to come back with something worded?
I don't think there's I mean, there might just be a spot where it's just hard to, when you have a community-based
Mhm.
fire department. It's, you know, for our normal departments, I think this is covered, and I think we got a good plan here. With a fire department where you've got part-time people, full-time people, I mean, would we address this more as full-time people would be this certain way versus part-time? Could that be something that could be used? Because obviously that's an issue. I mean, right now, one is part-time, one is full-time, one is very, I mean, essentially very part-time essentially
Mhm.
in comparison.
I think there has to be a definite difference between supervising and or employee evaluation or discipline.
Right.
Because it's okay to have direct supervision.
Right.
I guess
Of
we,
course.
we can't be the only place on the planet nor the state, probably not even in the county that has this problem.
No, many,
Can't we add those words after each time it's direct supervision? And, what's the word you used? About report of how the work they're doing.
well, their operations or their daily duties. I mean,
Yeah.
they're
So
going to be
for
under
the-
direct supervision.
For the other department, if a conflict appears with a department head. Hiring and discipline will be done by the administrator.
Everybody's good with that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we're fine with that. It's just when we go to the fire department, that's not an option. So you understand where we're coming from with
Yep,
this?
I
Can
do.
you research and just bring
Yep.
something back? Everybody comfortable with that?
Yes.
Bring back
Okay.
section 307. Is
Yeah.
everything else good to go?
But I still think you need to leave in there that there's, when it comes to, right, and you are gonna leave in there, as far as employee evaluations and discipline, there needs to be a division between family members.
That's what I was talking about, employee evaluations.
All the departments.
Well, on the fire department, I think all of them,
Right.
and you have it naturally when it goes right to the administrator and all the other departments.
Right.
But
It's
in
just the fire
the,
department where it's not possible.
so it needs to be built into the chain of command and the offices down there, I think.
Okay. I mean, Doug, you understand this more than most would because you were in the position. Can you and Kathy work together on something like that with the fire
Well, yeah, the
department?
change was, that is the change that we made already, but now
Right.
that Mark brought up the fact, it does read that you can't even do daily supervision over them. Well, that's not,
Right. Well, I mean, we'll just get the wording right.
it's
Yep.
just changing that.
So I'll bring 307 nepotism back, a different paragraph. Is the rest of the handbook good to approve?
I think it's good to approve. Besides that,
Mark,
Yeah,
Becky,
I'm sorry, what-
are you good with the rest of the handbook besides the
Yes,
307?
I think Kathy did a very good job.
yes,
I agree.
a lot of work.
Okay. So no changes needed anywhere else? Just we'll review that 307.
I'll bring it back next.
It's always that
Meeting.
number, 307.
Yeah, that's right.
I guess should we give the administrator some direction? Do we want to focus nepotism on hiring or just everything? Because it sounded like, maybe you read the first part, it's hiring, and then our discussion kind of led us to sound like evaluations, discipline. I guess,
So if
do
I
we give you
say,
enough focus to,
so if I say Lisbon does not prohibit the hiring of an employee who has a relative and then put in discipline and eval, kind of written that down. I must. So
Will be done by administrator.
is that the area that you're concerned about, is the discipline and evaluation of the employee?
yeah, I don't know if that needs to be lumped into nepotism. I guess the nepotism in my mind comes to the idea of hiring someone in a position of family over another qualified candidate that maybe should get the position, or maybe a promotional opportunity.
Like an equal opportunity, like an
Yeah,
equal
I
opportunity.
I don't know if we need to make it so encompassing of everything in that section. I think maybe just a little
Hiring and
research on,
promotion.
yeah. Maybe some legal research.
I'll look into it.
Okay.
I'm sure I can find, somebody has a handbook that has it in there.
Yeah, it's got to exist.
Yeah.
Somebody does.
It's not a problem. A whole bunch of them will after this.
Yeah.
All right.
Motion?
Do you want a motion to approve everything? Because some of this might go on the outside of that 307. Do you want?
I can wait and just bring the whole.
I think,
packet
I mean,
back.
everybody's good with everything else. We're not going to come back.
So I can
and
just
bombard.
bring one page. I don't have to keep
Right,
printing
don't,
this.
No.
right,
this
don't,
paper out
please don't.
again.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
We don't need that.
that's good. All right, I'll bring 307 back and then we can approve all.
Okay.
Okay.
Hopefully it's in the state.
All right. Move on to item 11, then new business. A discussion only regarding creation of a draft employees benefits manual.
So can I ask that we move B ahead of A, because we do have planners sitting in the audience, and I think the
Yep.
employee draft benefits manual might take a little bit of time.
Item B, discussion necessary action regarding whether to hire a special projects planner.
All right, so if you remember, we spoke last meeting about possibly hiring a planner for projects, specifically to help work on the incorporation and agreements that need planning. And I brought forth both as part of our team that I wanted to put together for the incorporation. And you had a few questions on their experience and such, and if Sean if you want to come up and if you want to bring your.
Hi, everybody. My name's Sean Malarkey. I'm with FOTH. And just for the record, I'm not related to anybody that works for the town of Lisbon. So
We do blood
Orin-
samples.
Yeah. Okay.
DNA
We'll see.
test.
With me tonight is Orin Sumwalt as well. He's also with FOTH, and I think you might have received some of our materials. Also, as part of our planning team, Jeff Menkel is not here tonight. So we don't really have a presentation, but if there's any questions that you might have about our experience, we'd be happy to answer.
So one of your questions was if they had any relationship with DOA. They do not. So they were clear on that.
Simple, right?
And it's a good thing because another part of our team does. So that'll help us through that process. You wanted to know a little bit more of their experience with incorporation and strategic implementation. And so they wrote something up for you. If you have any questions for them, that would be.
I guess if I could, just maybe touch a little bit on incorporation. We are the planners for Waukesha and Vernon, who recently moved from town to village status. And so that was a different process than you're going through. You're going through the traditional method. I guess I'd argue that the processes may be different and the requirements might be different, but it's a lot of the same information that goes in the two documents into the two processes, and that it's not so far off. I think our involvement, we haven't talked to Kathy about this yet, but I think the next step, if you would choose to bring us on, would be to sit down and determine exactly how we might be a benefit. The way we've helped Waukesha and Vernon, and prior to that, the village of Windsor, when they incorporated, we were their planners as well when they were the town, which was the same process as Vernon and Waukesha used. We're largely land use analysis, mapping, obviously representation at the Board of Review hearings after the fact. We think we could really be of a benefit to the town and in our land use analysis expertise. We think we could hit it hard in terms of really painting a good picture in terms of how the town has grown over the last, since the last incorporation document was filed, and paint a nice graphic picture of how the densities have changed. And so we could definitely do that to your advantage. Again, we also work for the Village of Caledonia, who went from town to village status. That was that was the traditional route. We served as their utility engineers during that process. We weren't directly involved in that, but after the fact, we served as their planners and helped get them through the transition process of getting out of county zoning, developing their own zoning ordinance, shoreline zoning, floodland zoning, et cetera. We're in the process of doing the same thing for Vernon and Waukesha right now. We just went through the floodplain ordinance process. That's been approved, and we're currently working through the shoreline zoning process, which is something you'll have to do as well when you finally incorporate to become a village. So we do have some experience in that realm.
So Sean helped with our 307 agreement as well. Got hopefully one of those coming up but, in Waukesha. And so he was able to show the similarities and differences between our two comprehensive plans and where we needed to make any changes that need to be made. Wrote the letters to the Department of Administration to show the differences, and I think that was a part of our package that was approved in our 307.
Yeah, and then again attended the public hearings after the fact on those matters as well.
I have a question. If you come on board from that day on, how long do you think realistically it will be? Is there any way of knowing?
In terms of a completed application?
How long will it take to come from the town to the village?
They're going to be doing we ask them to do information for us.
Mhm.
They're not putting the application together.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
we-
it's a little premature only because we haven't really defined a scope. In our first letter to you guys, we kind of talked about going through the last incorporation and the DOA's response. And so as we got into it, we realized, well, we really need to spend some more time carving out what we can do. We're pretty multifaceted, multi-talented, and we'll help any way we possibly can, but we want to make it as efficient as possible. So if there are things that the staff can do or the attorneys can do better than we can do it, we certainly are happy to have it.
So I'm asking for them to come along as part of our team to get us through the incorporation and any kind of 307 agreements that we're working on. And then you'll get an understanding of what kind of planners they are and see if you like working with them in the future on maybe our comp plan or
Other
our,
special projects.
yeah, other special projects like you just mentioned. Once we incorporate, we're going to have to go through our shoreline ordinance. Now, he'll have already just went through the shoreline ordinance with 2 other municipalities in our county. So it's a perfect opportunity for us to bring him along. He's already got a template on how to do that by the time he gets to us. So I'm asking for approval. We didn't sit down and go through too much because until I got approval from you, I didn't want to start spending any money. And that's why I brought it to you.
Questions, Doug?
No.
Mark?
As far as community engagement goes, you got it at the bottom of page 2. What did you guys do for the last 2 or 3 efforts that or I guess all 3? What is the community engagement strategy that you guys?
For those specific projects, it was handled through the open plan commission meetings and board meetings. It wasn't, and I wasn't involved in anything outside of that. Kathy, maybe you can speak to what occurred in Waukesha outside of my involvement for community engagement.
Yeah, we didn't do much in community involvement at all.
I can-
And my next part of the team is PR, if you remember. We talked a little bit about that.
I can tell you in Windsor, though, things were a little bit different. We were actively involved in helping them with PR. We helped put together PowerPoint presentations on benefits and so on. And so we helped to raise awareness for incorporation, and you guys may be past that point already. I'm not sure. We haven't talked about it,
No.
but we definitely helped the town at the time prepare all manner of materials from graphics, FAQs, et cetera, in terms of what it is, why it benefits the residents, and including maps. So we were involved in that. That was 5 or 6 years ago when they did that, but it was part of the process.
We didn't have to do that in Waukesha. We got our 8 points and then we brought it to the referendum and the people spoke. So we did not do, other than speaking at a meeting, a regular town board meeting, putting something in the newsletter, one newsletter, that was it. We didn't do anything else.
Okay.
This is a little bit bigger of a process.
So maybe I can just speak just to public involvement in general. We do have quite a bit of experience in public involvement and all manner of forums, from open houses, visioning workshops, charrettes. We do it pretty much all, and we do special projects such as comprehensive planning and zoning ordinances. And so we've done streetscaping projects, economic development projects that have all incorporated some heavy facet of public participation.
Okay.
Any other questions, Mark?
Not right now.
Becky? Well, I will say, I wish you had some regular experience with conventional incorporations, because all 3 of these were of the statute that obviously.
That's
we tried,
correct.
Which was a statutoral, so it was, so I guess the part of that is good is you help determine whether they met it or not in different areas, because that information had to be correct, and if it wasn't,
Correct.
it would not have happened. Some creative ingenuity on some TID districts, I think probably helped a little bit on there too. You guys were involved with those.
We were involved in the TID as well.
Yeah, I mean, would you see that? I don't know your experience other than what you've said. Would you see that as a handicap towards your ability to serve us in what we need? Or is this a skill that you could use as far as the statutorial versus the other method.
Yeah,
that
yeah, I
the
mean,
community's
I
using.
tried to touch on that when I first spoke, and maybe it wasn't super clear, but I think there's different information that's required for both processes, but the act of the collection and making the information easy to understand and digest and be believable, I think is the same in both processes. So I think that's a benefit for us. And we've been, like I said, we've been involved in 3 incorporation processes, which is more than most, regardless of which process it is.
Well, we asked Kathy to put a team together, and this is what she's recommending.
Can I ask again about the cost? Can I ask? about
So
the
so we haven't put together a cost at all about the process, because we haven't defined the scope in terms of what we would be doing yet.
cost? Okay.
That's the next step. We did provide our hourly rates in there, but beyond that, we just don't know until we, so I guess what I would recommend is that if we were brought on, we would meet with Kathy, we would devise a scope as a draft. We'd try to put some numbers to that, and then obviously would come back before we would do any work on anything.
And there's some variables right now that we can't really predict on certain things, and we don't even know we're gonna be under the 301 or 307 agreement, not to be confused with nepotism 307. But there's a lot to it, and it would be, at this point, I think it'd be a little unfair to get an overall cost, but I mean,
Yeah, and the number of meetings, for instance, is going to be up for debate. And so we try to put a number together for a meeting, and then however many it would take based on that.
so,
I think that's a good idea.
right, I mean, the team that's being put together, we have a lot of it, different experience on different ends. I mean, our attorney that we're gonna be using for this, obviously, is hopefully,
Solid.
has got some pretty significant experience in this, so
Mhm.
pretty sure we can get some good direction across the board on this.
Absolutely.
So in concept, is the board good with this?
Mhm.
Once we get it laid out a little bit better, we'll get some numbers and I'll bring them back. So I'm not just spending money for it.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yes, I would then make the motion to allow the administrator to hire a special projects planner in Fourth as presented. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Linda. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Item D, discussion necessary action regarding naming of development at former Leeds property.
You gotta go back to 8.
We'll do that one last.
Yeah, it's going to be a long one. Do you want to do C before D?
Oh, I'm sorry, I went right by
C.
C. Apparently, I'm trying to bypass that one. Item C, discussion necessary action regarding moving planning commission to the first Thursday of each month. Kathy?
So my request is to move the plan commission back to the first Thursday of the month. There's a couple reasons for that. One, we seem to be running into double packets every Thursday, trying to get or one week a month where we're trying to get a plan commission packet and a town board packet out the exact same day, and it rushes us, as well as our attorney is available on the first Thursday of the month as well. So I bring that forward. I did put that out to all of the plan commission members. And I had all but one that was in favor of it.
Becky, do you know which one that one was?
Yeah.
No, I have no.
Gave that away.
Yeah.
So moving it to the first Thursday, there's still potential it could impact some board meetings, but it's unlikely.
Right.
Um,
It gives us more, we have less extra weeks off, when there's a 5-week month, but it definitely will help get our packets out quicker. We've been trying to get them out by Thursday and Wednesday and Thursday, but we have been difficult when we had 2 meetings. We were getting stuff out on Fridays. So we're trying to make a change in our process, and I think this will help in the office as well.
We used to be on the first Thursday.
Yeah.
We
that's okay.
changed it because we're having some problems, and we probably created more problems than we helped.
Okay.
Becky, is this going to be a conflict for you, or is this
What?
the first Thursday going to be a conflict?
No, the problem, I just, then, I mean, it's very selfish of me, but we travel a lot and it's very hard trying to be gone just 1 week that I don't have any meetings. And I try to be here for all my meetings. It always doesn't work out, but it was just easier for me with it on the second Thursday, that's all.
Or have to put a Zoom book in your,
Yeah, but I tried that once. It was hard to Zoom.
yeah, oh, it's gotta be hard to hear too. I would say. The rest of the plan commission was okay,
Yep.
stated. Any objections from the board?
None. Mhm.
No.
All right, is there a motion on this item?
I make a motion, we move the planning commission to the first Thursday of the month at the Richard Young,
But you don't have to name
No.
the place, just
Oh.
move them to the first Thursday.
first Thursday of the month,
Starting in July.
starting in July.
Thank you.
Is there a second to that? I'll second that. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay,
Motion carries 4-1. Sorry, Becky.
okay.
All right, item D, discussion and necessary action regarding naming of development at former Leeds property.
So we've been calling it just that, the former Leeds property. And I'm thinking it would be easier to market if we actually had a name for this development. I gave you a suggestion that I bounced it off of a couple people in the office trying to come up with something. We thought it was important to use the word Lisbon in it. So we came up with Lisbon Business Park East with the understanding that, or the hope that we have a
West.
Lisbon Park West in the future.
I think that sounds good.
Any suggestions are fine. That was just what we came up with. I just thought it was important that Lisbon was in it since it's surrounded by
Sure,
other communities.
I agree with the Lisbon needs to be in it,
me too.
especially the first one.
Mhm.
Only suggestion I had is just call it Lisbon Business Park. And then if there is subsequent ones, we can just name them either with numerics or
Or like 1, 2. You know,
keep it short.
Could do that if you
Shorter.
wanted. You want to just cut off the word east?
I'm okay with that too. A little
Anybody
shorter.
else?
Becky?
I think it sounds nice. Lisbon Business Park East, which gives them that there might be a west.
There you go.
Until you get 5 of them, and then you have to go northeast,
Central.
southwest.
I don't think we
Midway.
are ever going to have to worry about that.
I would not oppose the east.
I mean, we kind of had a south one already, even though it's not called that. You know, we call it the Corey Corners,
Yeah,
but I mean, that's the south one. We have, I mean, otherwise just talking like naming it. You know, everyone, I'm a big fan of the Leeds naming it, but I don't care if it's not there because once we're gone, nobody's going to know what Leeds was anyway. But,
exactly.
And you're thinking about naming a road there.
Yeah,
yeah,
That's
like I
nice.
say, we can name a road and that.
That's
is
awesome. Yep.
homage to that, but
okay.
I believe there will be a west business park at some point. I don't believe there will be a north. But not in my lifetime anyway. But I'm fine with the east or regular business park. I do like the way that sounds saying east, I will say that.
Mhm.
I like Lisbon East.
Somebody want to put that in a motion?
I make a motion, we name the new park, Lisbon Business Park East.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mark. Any final discussion?
Mhm.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0 for our East Business Park.
All right,
Already
so-
changing it.
Hmm?
You're already changing it.
Right. Item E, discussion necessary action regarding naming of the second road within the Leeds property.
So right now, we've been calling it the proposed road on all of our documents, our maps. So I think it's probably a good time to name it. I suggested Leeds, and shot it around, and then the suggestion came up that it's a court, so we could do Leeds Court. So it's just a suggestion. Anything else you'd like to do, that's fine with me.
Is that a lane or court or what is that?
Richard Road.
Call it
Richard
Richard
Road.
Road. Technically, it's a court though.
Yeah, Richard Road. Maybe we should go Joseph. No,
I like Leeds Court.
I do too.
I do too.
Give me a little stubby road somewhere when I die.
Yeah. I make a motion, we name the second road within Leeds property, Leeds Court.
Is there a second?
Second.
Doug, any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item F, discussion necessary action regarding monthly review of any complaints or concerns received about Lafarge seasonal hours.
We did not receive any complaints or concerns at this time.
Oh, good.
Anybody have any comments or questions at this point?
Didn't they come to the meeting and they said it was going from, is that the one that was going from 6 till 9 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay, so they moved it back down to 6?
No.
We just
No, this
haven't
is
had
just
any
our-
complaints.
Monthly,
we get a-
monthly review.
Because it's per what we did, it has to come back monthly.
Okay,
So you're gonna
gotcha.
see this every month.
Okay, perfect.
So no.
All right.
no action.
So no action because
No
there's no complaints or concerns.
Okay.
All right. Item G is discussion necessary action regarding the following appointments.
Bless these people.
On the Parks Committee, we have Marlene Kumich and Brad Tremmel for a 4-year term from July 1st through June 30th of 2025. Obviously, Marlene is a fixture in the community, and
Mhm.
I'm not as familiar with Brad, but appreciate his service, that's for
He's
sure.
actually a Parks Department employee at the city of Waukesha.
Oh.
So he's a perfect person for our committee, and he's already on it. It's just a reappointment.
Right, and Marlene likes him, so that was enough for me.
That's
Yep.
enough for me too.
Thank you, Jen. All right, and then on the Public Safety Committee, we have Randy Wittig for a 3-year term from August 1st, 2021 through July 31st of 2024. And on the Fire Commission, we have Darren Becker and Dennis Plotecker, each on a 3-year term from August 1st through July 31st. Darren and Dennis, I have no issue. Doug, any problems with either?
Dennis has been on there since the original commission, and Darren is the current president.
I have,
Very good people.
So I believe you can take all of these in one motion.
Randy
I'm-
Wittig has been on there for a while. He's been
I
good.
think he's been on there forever too.
Yeah. Sorry, Linda, didn't want to cut you off there.
No, that's okay. I was going to say I'll make a motion for all of them as presented.
Approval?
For approval.
Okay, moved by Linda to approve all appointments. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Doug Brown. Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 11A, back there. Discussion only regarding creation of a draft employee benefits manual.
So in our manual, I made a few changes. There was a draft put together, and I wanted to go over it. Mostly what the changes will be are all in the time off area. The one change that's in the in the health information was just that our new health insurance, the out-of-pocket for out-of-network went up, doubled. But that was the only thing changed. It went up in January, so the staff is aware of it, or the employees are aware of it. But health savings account on page 4, we're currently being paid our health savings account quarterly, and this has all been done manually. And the idea for changing things in this manual is to reduce the amount of manual work that is being done. Right now, they're doing spreadsheets outside of this very expensive software because we're doing things in an not a standard way. So in this case, we made the change that the employees, the same amount goes into their health savings account, but instead of it coming in every quarter, it goes in each payroll. And that way it's, people know what they have in their account and it's available to them faster if they need it. But it reduces that manual,
And it works with all your software.
right? And it works with the software, exactly. So for number 2 on page 8 is we're working on in time off. And so this is a change for us. We're going to work on an accrual-based system instead of banking in on banking hours and then putting them on in January. Currently, we do that on their anniversary date, and then they get in amount also in January of each year. Our system can't do both of those, and we think it would be a cleaner process if we go by accrual basis. And then giving them nothing new in January. So they'll know what's on their pay stub is their vacation, and that's what they have the ability to use. If they use it all, they don't have anything until they start accumulating again. So so one of the changes other than the accrual was that I changed the vacation benefit. In the past, what we were doing was accumulating manually the first 6 months of someone's time here. And I'm suggesting that their first 6 months, they don't accumulate anything until they get their 6-month orientation and done, and then a positive eval that keeps them on board. That's when they start to accrue vacation time. So they would start at 6 months. Their next pay period would start their very first accrual. Now that does give them the ability to use that before. Now, right now, it's you don't get to use anything until the first of the year. But what this does is it only allows that person to accrue 1 month in that first year. So in the first 6 months, so 0 to 6 months, they get no leave. Same, and then at the 7th month to 59 months, that's when they start earning their weeks, their time at 6.667 hours. So that person that just started, they don't get any vacation time until they start earning it after they've been here, their introductory period, their 6 months, then they start to accrue. In the 7th month, they can take what they earned in the 7th month if they want. But if they keep it and they don't take any vacation until their first anniversary here, they would have 1 week's vacation, not 2 weeks vacation. So it reduces their amount of vacation for our new people coming in, but it makes it accessible for them to have vacation right off the bat, because waiting a whole year sometimes is real difficult to not have any kind of vacation or time off. So then the other change was that in the past we had, once you made it to your 6th year, you would get your 3rd week. And so I changed that to 5 years. That's kind of the norm. I don't know why, and I don't have history on why we went to 6 years instead of 5 years and 12 years instead of 10 years for the two breaks, but those are pretty industry standards. Then our current system says that our current process is after your 12th year, you get your 4 weeks, but then you start to accumulate. So in your 13th year, you get 4 weeks and 1 day. And then in your 14th year, you get, and it just keeps doing that one day at a time. So what I did was I brought in the 15th year as your 5 weeks instead of, they only get 4 weeks for years 10 through 14, they only get the 4 weeks. And then when they hit 15 weeks, they would be able to earn 5 weeks of vacation. And again, it's done by accumulation throughout. Our software can run that way, but it is a change. So I'm bringing it to the board for discussion.
What would happen with employees that already are hired under what we've been doing? That,
And that was one of the reasons why I was trying to get this completed by the end of June, why I had that timeline, was because on July 1st, I could take the 6 month that they accumulated and we would put that in their bank, what was banked, we would put that on their check. And then they would just keep accumulating from then on. So they would not lose anything, they weren't taking anything from someone. There's only one person in our area that falls after the 12 years. And she was fine with the change. She had no concerns with the change. So she right now is at 4 weeks and 1 day. And she's fine with going back to 4 weeks and waiting until her 15th year to get her 5 weeks. So it's only one person that it affected.
but there are some people that were hired that are like within a year of hire that would say that at their anniversary, they would get 2 weeks because that's what they were hired under that.
Well, they were going to, at their anniversary, right as of July 1st, they would get whatever they accumulated. So they wouldn't lose anything.
Okay.
So we're taking into consideration the time from January until July. We're putting that in their account right away. And then that's the last manual thing we have to do for, and then from then on, it'll accumulate. But the way it works no one will lose an hour.
They have to use up their time in the time frame of that pay period, that year though, don't they?
No, we allow for a rollover of 80 hours. If you remember, we do that now. We would continue that. So that
Okay.
allows them to roll over 2 weeks of vacation. So then if they were planning a vacation in February, there's no way they could.
Okay. Because there were we talked about that they would get their new pay for their old from vacation that they saved.
So we're gonna be going anniversary date from now on.
We would go from anniversary from now on.
So that's when the
Nothing in
rollover would
January.
occur on their anniversary date.
Right,
Okay.
Right, so but the people we have so far are all on January 1.
right. So
So-
we're going to move that.
You're gonna move that? You're not just gonna leave it January 1 right now?
No, we have their accumulated banks and we're going to give them that accumulated bank. And then from then on, they'll just be accumulating everything else.
If they don't.
So they won't get anything in January.
Because if you don't go to the anniversary date, then this accruing time by days worked wouldn't work. Because now instead of on their anniversary date getting another week's vacation, they're actually
They don't.
earning hours to it.
Right. And that's what they're
So-
doing. They're earning those hours.
Yeah,
I'm good with anniversary. I thought we should have been on that
well, yeah, absolutely.
So,
14 years ago.
so you hire someone, they do nothing for the 6 months.
They get nothing for this.
Right,
Hopefully they're
But-
working for us.
right. But then after 6 months, they start accruing.
Mhm.
But when they get to their 1-year anniversary, they don't get 2 weeks.
No,
They
they'll only
get-
get that
They
one.
get one, so they're losing a week of vacation.
Right. By doing this, we've taken our new hires down to 1 week for their first year, but they start to accumulate right away. So they can take it within that first year if they want. They can take a day off here or there if they want or need to. But by the time they hit their anniversary date, they'd have 1 week accumulated instead of giving them automatically 2 weeks on their anniversary.
The trade-off is you get it sooner, but you
Right.
don't get as much.
What's the trade-off?
You get it sooner.
You get it sooner. You're
And
able
you'll
to use
accrue.
it.
So you'll start, so if you use your first, like January 1, you use your first week. Like let's say you've accrued a whole week by January, or not January 1, but your first 6 months, you can use your first week, but then you get some vacation as you're going, you can use.
But still, if you work here over a year, you're not getting 2 weeks.
Right.
You're getting 1 week.
You get 1 week.
And you're starting to accumulate at 2 weeks.
At
So
2 weeks.
you start accumulating on your anniversary.
Right.
Your first year anniversary, now you start accumulating 6.667
Every day.
to make that 2 weeks. So
I thought you
you're
said
going to-
January, July 1st.
Well, no, that's just to catch up the people that are currently on the bank system.
So we're still going to deal with anniversary dates.
All anniversary dates. If this passes, we will not use January any longer. It'll always be
Anniversary.
anniversary dates.
I can understand
The
that.
nice deal about it is if you were in between your 1 week and earning your 2 weeks, you've accrued hours as you were working, so you might get a week and 2 days.
Yeah,
If you want to
didn't
take it before you earn your second week, you'd have more days available before that, because you're accruing it as you go.
Do we know the system is gonna work this way?
Yes. We
So
did.
The reason I ask this is, okay, let's say somebody takes 2 weeks off unpaid. Are they earning vacation when they do that?
No.
Because then it wouldn't be earned month, so then you'd only earn half of them.
It's-
But
you
like
have to
sometimes
work
there's a
it.
5 weeks, sometimes there's 3 weeks. So what I'm asking is, are we sure this is how it'll work? Is it doing it per week or is it doing it per month? And have either one of you actually looked?
Yes.
Okay, because I know you don't do the payroll, so I'm
Yeah,
asking.
I did
Well,
at
and
my
I-
previous municipality when I had to do payroll,
On this system?
Luckily, I brought,
on the previous generation of this system.
Okay,
I did meet with, Natasha went through this with me step by step.
okay,
So,
so
and
I just
she
want to make sure
reviewed
it's going to work
everything.
on the monthly. I have this system that we can use, but it works on a weekly system. And
Yeah.
it works on that way. So if somebody takes off 2 weeks, they can figure out that,
I'll
like
check
for
with
some
them.
reason they're offered to, let's say they take FMLA. They're gone for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever. You don't accumulate it at that point because it's not accruing.
Okay.
So that pushes everything back. It
Mhm.
doesn't push back when you can extend your vacation, so to say, I'm assuming, but it pushes back how it's accrued.
So if you're gone a week during the month, you still earn the full amount?
If you didn't use your vacation, no. If you just took leave.
But if you have vacation, you have to take vacation unless
Right.
it's family leave or disability, something like that.
Just so we know
But-
it'll work.
I've got it down. That's one of the notes I'll bring back to her to
Okay.
make sure of. All right, so,
I did have one question about
uh-huh,
comparing the last sentence of the eligibility paragraph
Okay.
to the then section leave schedule 0 to 6 months. The eligibility states eligible full-time employees accrue 6.6 hours of vacation per month, 2 weeks per year, with increases in years 5, 10, and 15 as follows.
I get where you're going. Okay.
I see a
So-
loophole for somebody claiming that they were employed, but you withheld, or the town withheld 6 months of vacation.
Right, so I'll make sure that the front end is clear.
Why are we detracting from them earning it in the 6 months? Why can't we just go to a system where they earn it, but it's not eligible to be used?
Because that's all done manually. Our payroll system doesn't allow you to do that. So she has a spreadsheet keeping track of everybody's hours, all our new hires and all of our people to see what they've accumulated the year before. And then in January, they get their what they've banked. That was on a spreadsheet. What we're trying to do is keep in mind, we might not have the same person doing this type of work for payroll. Right now, that person does an excellent job keeping track of everything. If we bring somebody else in, trying to teach them all these nuances are very difficult. It would make it much easier if we actually used the system we purchased and used it in a standard way. So by doing the accumulation, the software allows us to accumulate as we go through it. She doesn't have to keep track. I know that at first we said they couldn't, a new employee would earn vacation, but not be able to take it until after they've been here a year. So this was kind of a balance. By allowing them to get it earlier and start accumulating it early, we weren't doing the bank anymore and they just accumulate. But because they are starting at 6 months, their first year, they would only be accumulating one 1 month, 1 week. And then they would start on on their anniversary date, then they start with the 6.67.
So
For their-
is it true that somebody could be hired January 1st, work 6 months, get no accrual, and then July 1st, they start accruing? And somebody else starts July 1st and goes through 6 months, and now they're at the same bank?
No,
Wouldn't it-
no, because
wouldn't
their
work that way?
anniversary date would be in January, your first person in January of the next year, they would have 6 months. Your next person wouldn't, in January, would have 0 and would just be starting their bank or starting their accrual. So they'd have 0.
I'm partially following.
Makes Lisbon a very, a place anybody would want to come and work. I mean, it's bad enough you didn't get any vacation for, because now that's what counts is your benefits.
And that's why I wanted to bring it forward, so then they could start taking vacation right away. So they start accruing vacation after 6 months. Once they get through their
Once they
vacation
get to
time.
Their year anniversary.
No, right at 6 months. They get approved through their 6 months. They got through the introductory period.
Okay,
They start accruing. They get their accrual.
right, so
All the
at
way
a
through.
year, which is another 6 months, they only have a week.
Right, but they can take that all the time. Between 6 months and a year, they can start taking a day here or a day there. Whereas right now, they can't take anything until after a year.
This is something I heard as a complaint from people, that we didn't allow accrual. I don't know if they're gonna be a huge fan of the 6-month thing, but I'm not against that.
I mean, if you want to change it, it's your deal, you can change it. I
Right.
just was giving you something to work off of. I knew that right now, we give them 2 years, we give them nothing until they've been here a whole year, and then they get 2 weeks. What this did was they gave them their first year 1 week, but they got to take it. And anytime after 6 months, they could take whatever they accumulated.
And they can take another week after their first year.
After their first year, they can accumulate until because now they're going to be accumulating at a 2, they're
The six-
accumulating the same amount, but
Right.
it will end up in a year, will end up as 2 weeks.
Okay.
So this is the same amount, the 6.667 hours. It's the same until you get through to 5 years.
If they
It's just
work,
that you don't start.
if they work a month, they get 6 hours of vacation. In 2 months, they get 12 hours of vacation.
Yeah.
So you could take a couple days off after a couple of months,
Exactly.
a couple days, not a week.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you'd have to wait till
After
7 and 8.
6 months,
You have to wait till month 7, month
they
8.
have to wait
Yeah.
Right,
7
after the
months.
first 6 months, there's nothing, and then it
Right, and then you
starts.
start.
But if you earn after a month 6 hours, you could take
You
6
can
hours.
take 6 hours, right? Whereas right now, they can't take anything for a
Yeah.
year. I can put it back if you think that that's important. I was just giving you something to work through.
No, I think it's important to give them something, something in their first year, because like I said, now people are looking for benefits. And working a year without any vacation, I don't think is a good thing.
I kind of like what Mark said. They should maybe start accruing it right from the time they start, but they can't take any of it till after the first 6 months.
So then we go back to banking
Banking.
For 6 months,
for 6 months.
Oh,
which should be really, really simple.
Well, it's simpler than what we're doing, sure, but it's still banking. I
Yeah,
was trying to get rid of all banking.
Isn't the spirit of withholding vacation accrual in that first 6 months just more of a guarantee towards the employer that the person's going to be retained?
Well, that's the idea is that, yeah, we don't give them any benefits until we actually get through the introductory probation period.
You
Then
could
they
turn the
start.
accrual system on immediately and just not allow them to actually use it for 6 months. You wouldn't actually have to bank. You could just turn it on, let it go, and then at 6 months, that's when you're allowed to use it.
And
Yeah,
then so
what-
they'd get 2 weeks within that first year. go back to that.
Yeah, they would, I mean, essentially they would have 6 months to decide how they want to use it.
And they'd have at least,
6 month anniversary you just put in.
They already have 6 days.
It'll accrue,
There-
it'll
there.
accrue. If they,
Right.
it'll accrue properly up until that amount, and then you just become eligible to use it at 6 months.
I think you gotta let it
So-
accrue.
That's probably the
So-
simplest way to do it.
And I think if they separate prior to that probationary period, we should have a turn back where they turn it back, they don't get paid for it.
That they do not, that no payout happens if
Right.
they're let go before the
6
6
months.
months.
Right.
So if they stay 7 months, they get their vacation. that they-
And you gotta draw a line somewhere.
Okay.
When you gotta keep
I
it
just want to make
accruing,
sure, so
And
I,
it's full-time.
yeah,
Oh.
only full-time. Yep.
because if
And it says
they're
on-
working within their 6 months and they're taking unpaid time off, they don't
The
get,
accrual system will work accordingly.
then the accruing will work. They won't get any.
Right, we just won't allow you to use it until 6 months is up. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Good.
Right.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Right. Becky, you're good with that?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
How many employees have over 15 years?
No?
One, the whole time?
Okay. Because I was just, you know,
Mark,
Is everybody else on,
right?
except us?
Still here.
But we get no vacation. Paid.
All right, so I've got that. I'll make those changes. Then if we turn the page over, we changed the use of vacation time that can be taken in increments as small as 1 hour. And then, and that it cannot be used, well, I'm sorry, that's the wrong piece. Then for sick leave, we again went the sick, that they don't get any sick time until 6 months. Do you want to turn that back as well? That they start accumulating the sick time right away? What I was doing was they didn't get any sick time during that first 6 months, and then at 6 months, they started accumulating the sick time. But if they're doing it for vacation, the idea is to stop having to hit each employee and remember where their start date is and such.
I think the sick time is different,
Okay,
because what are they getting? Now they're getting 2 days a year? Is
They
that
get-
what they were getting?
It's getting 4 hours a
oh
month.
yes, 24 hours, 24 hours.
Right, so I would just say, I would tell them they have to work 6 months and then they'll start to accumulate sick time.
I agree.
That's how I have it written.
Mhm.
Right.
And that's easy enough to turn on and off in there.
Much easier than having to drop it in 24 hours.
Right. Okay.
According to
Everybody
the
good with
person that has to do it.
Yes.
And again,
Have we, not to throw a wrench in this, but have we thought about just going to a PTO policy?
I looked into that and it's a lot of work, like
This works.
it's a lot more work than this. All right, so on the next page, holidays. We spoke about the floating holidays. They do not accrue. They have to be taken the day, the same calendar year. Traditionally, they've been used for Good Friday and July 3rd. The first floating holiday is available to be used on or after Good Friday, and the second is available on or after July 3rd, but must be taken in the calendar year. That is what we discussed when we talked about holidays in the past. We also put in a statement that the department has to note on the time card if somebody took their floating holiday, which one they're taking, the first or second one. And then that's all the changes I've made. Oh, well, I take that back. Then the last thing, number 9, in this document had personal days. When I started, I wasn't aware of any personal days, but this had 2 personal days in a year, and they do not accumulate, and so they don't roll over.
Personal days?
That's what was in the document, so I just left it there because it was already in the document, so
Which page are you looking
I
at?
didn't,
I don't remember anybody getting first.
I was gonna say, I've never heard of anybody
so
getting.
take it out.
Just,
That-
Yeah.
Okay,
I think
Got
that
it.
was that was wording that was put into one of the versions of all this when it was being reworked, when those were the two floating
Yeah,
days.
I
They
know what
started
that was.
changing
Ah,
floating
okay.
days to personal days.
Okay,
Right.
all right, that
So-
makes sense. So I'll
I
cut that
have a
out.
question on holidays.
Okay,
It says unused floating days do not accrue. Well, no holidays accrue, right?
right,
I mean, you have to take them in that year.
right, and that's, right,
Okay.
and that's why I said, but I'm talking about the floating
You're just
holidays at this
talking
time.
about the floating
Right.
holidays. Okay.
And so I wanted to make it real clear that you couldn't accumulate them and they have to take in,
Okay.
yeah, it's on, we just can't get it to get cooler. Yeah, it's just not getting cooler.
Circuit breaker.
I want this open. Well, it's old now.
So that's what I have. Any other changes you thought should be made?
Now, the HSA payments are, the computer differentiates between those and regular hours, right? Because you aren't charged payroll taxes.
Right. Right, yeah, absolutely.
I thought that was it, but.
I had a question. I'm trying to get back to it. Where's the in lieu of pay? What page was it on?
In lieu of pay.
In lieu of.
In lieu of taking benefit?
Oh,
there
the
it is.
health
Page
insurance.
2, bottom. In-
Page
yeah,
2?
The 3,000 opt-out
Oh.
incentive.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
We've gone through this so many times on approving one. I think at one point we had talked, there was a tiered system because we had some people who took healthcare but didn't take vision or dental, and some people who took dental didn't take. Is
This
this,
was, so this is the way it's, I didn't change it. It was $3,000 opt-out incentive for health insurance, not dental, not vision. Vision is paid 100% out of the employee's pocket. And the dental is, $2 or whatever
Okay.
it is, $8.
It's
so
three,
this is just for health.
It's just specific to health. So we have people that take the opt-out, but then they take the dental and the vision and they pay for their portion of it.
what's the difference between a family and a single, though?
Uh,
A lot of money.
If you're not married and you don't have any dependents, you'd be single.
Well, yeah, I understand. It's
There
getting
is
like,
nothing for the opt-out.
nothing for, because it says $3,000 here.
Right, and that's what it is. So anybody that opts out, it's $3,000,
That's for the family person?
family or
Single.
single.
What
The
is
same
our
amount.
cost if they were to take it?
It depends on the person, but
Exactly.
when my husband and I were both on, it was, our plan was just under $22,000 and you paid 75% of that.
Okay,
So if I opted out, $3,000 is a good benefit for you, but if I'm taking it from my husband's, it's a great benefit for me as well. Because I get $3,000, I'm using my husband's insurance.
no, I'm just wondering, should it be the same for a family because there's more people, obviously it's at least
Okay.
2 people.
So mine right now is, my health insurance is the full premium is just under $1,100 a month.
Okay,
So it's a benefit to, you're saying that you think maybe a single person should get 1,500?
yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Well, then
That's
I
not
think.
what we did. That's not, I mean, if you're going to do that, we need to do that in next year's budget, but this is exactly what we're doing right now.
Okay,
I don't
wanna
know if I would
the
change it
handbook
unless
to-
you're gonna, because everybody, as they get older, their premiums go higher, they
Yeah.
get families bigger, some,
So,
I
Yeah,
would,
so for
I'd keep
me,
it the same.
so like I was using me as an example as $1,100 as a single.
yeah,
Okay, but we have other people that their single plan is $400. So it really depends on the person.
okay,
If I was,
okay.
It would
So,
be unlikely we
age.
would pay less than $3,000 per year on
yes,
any single plan. I mean, you have to be 19 years old
Yeah.
and single.
Yeah, okay.
That's about the only way you're
That's just-
gonna be.
I was just surprised when
there
it's the
was no
same for,
break difference. Yeah.
Mhm. But that's okay, I'm fine with it. Okay,
Saves the town money if they all opt out.
okay.
Right. All right.
Anything else?
No.
All right. I did not have this on the agenda for action because I knew we were going to be discussing it and I'd have to bring it back. So I will bring this back at the next meeting with all your changes.
Now, we're done with the employee handbook.
Right, I'm just going to bring
I don't have
307.
read it again.
No, no, just 307. I'm going to bring back 307. All
All right,
right.
item 12,
I make a
Adjournment.
motion to adjourn.
moved by Linda to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Doug. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're out at 8:24.
I think we need to hang on to this.
Yeah.